Hey guys, Just Debbie 5012 here. I almost forgot how to say my own name. That shows me how difficult it is. But welcome back. This is the second voice audition for The Last of the Ancients. It's a animated movie I'm going to be making. I still need animators and help with the music. And of course I need characters. There's quite a lot of them. This one is for the dogs. There are quite a lot of dogs. I think there are probably more than there are wolves. This might be a little longer. Um, if you don't already know, the first audition was just for wolves. This one's for dogs, and the other one is for basically all of the other characters, which there aren't very many of those, so that audition video won't be very long. But you can try out for several characters. I'm only going to be trying to give people one part for right now, though I might give you multiple depending on how I like your voice and if I think you're good enough. Um, Also, there's not really any main villains in the story. The main villain is actually more of a elusive idea. It's more of the idea of death that takes on the form of this thing called the Shadow. But there are a couple of villains. They're not main villains by any means, but they are still villains, so if you're interested in that. And a lot of the dogs don't have very many lines, they have smaller roles, because the movie centers more around the wolves. But if you don't want that big a part, you can either try out for a dog, or you can tell me you want to be an extra, and I'll definitely get you in the movie. So let's start the audition, and I'll stop talking now, because I've been talking forever. This first wolf is named Peter. He is a typical Doberman colorations. Also, you'll notice it says weapon, lightning lance. The dogs don't have the ability of the wolves to use powers through their bodies. They can still harness these powers, but they have to harness them through weapons. So a lot of the dogs have weapons. Um, he's pretty much a cruel character. He uses others for his own game. He acts very trustworthy. You'd think you could trust him, but he isn't. So he probably needs a voice that's going to be more of a, not really an evil voice, more of a voice you would think would belong to a good guy. Um, he doesn't have a younger part, and he has what I call a medium role. It's not a large role, but it's not a small role either. He actually helped raise Stig, and he killed Stig's father and a bunch of other things like that, and he is also the leader of a rebellion of dogs. It fails, but he is the leader of the rebellion, and he causes a lot of problems in the story. Well, now you can see why I'm not going to be the animator. Starting here, some of the characters look pretty bad. Um, but this is Kiro. He is a typical husky with blue eyes and probably more typical husky markings than what you see. Um, He has knives. We see his knives, but we don't know what power they have because he's in this dog guard, but he never really uses them because Peter kills him and he's only ever seen in flashbacks. He is Stig's father and he mated with Stala. He is fun-loving and kind and likes to gamble. And he has pretty much a small role since he is only seen in flashbacks. But I'm pretty sure he's really popular, and he is also a very important character to the story, so he needs to get a voice actor. The next dog is named Kilara. It says she uses a wind sword, but we don't really ever see her use it. She just has the sword. She is loyal, but she's kind of blind to everything else that's going on. She's like very blindly loyal to Peter. She has a very small role, not really many speaking parts, though I know a lot of people probably won't try out for her because they want the parts that have, um, they want to be actually in the movie and they want to have more parts, but If you get a smaller role, I'll probably end up giving you um either extra roles or one of the other small roles if you can make your voice significantly different enough. And she is a typical bloodhound. I obviously don't know how to draw that, so she's only one color, but she's um going to be a bloodhound. The next dog is named Lucy. She resembles a beagle, but she is an albino, completely albino dog. She is probably going to be taken by one of my friends because I think she's got a really great voice for her. You can still try out, though, for her because she does have a younger part. She is a major role, and she's not really seen that much in flashbacks, so the younger version of her is um, not as major a role at all. Um, she's calm, kind, warm-hearted, but slightly naive, and her father is the king of dogs, and her mother was the queen, but her mother was probably murdered by Peter. I don't ever really tell you in the script, but you get the sense that Peter might have murdered her mother. So, but she's still very kind, and she's also the mother of another dog later that is the reason that this story is called The Last of the Ancients. This next dog is Lilah. She is a beagle, but she is mostly white with a couple other colorations. She doesn't have a weapon, and of course she dies. She's only really ever seen in flashbacks, and so she has a small role. But she is a very kind dog. Um, she really doesn't have that big a part, but she's kind of important for development in the storyline later. All of the characters in flashbacks are, and she's also part of the reason why Reaper, which is her mate basically, why he's so angry at everyone, and especially the wolves, because he was told that a wolf murdered her. So I really need a part for her because she is very important to the development of the storyline. And she does sing a lullaby. So if you can sing, I'd recommend you try out for her. And for anyone singing lullabies or anything, I will post a video with how the song actually goes. This next dog is called K, just the letter. He's called that because originally I wasn't going to name him. He was just going to be an extra, but he ended up um being in so many scenes that I just went ahead and gave him a name because his extra name was Guard K, so I just changed his name to K. Um, he is a white German Shepherd, except his eyes are blue. He's basically a typical German Shepherd. He uses a water sword, and we do get to see him use it. He's somewhat timid, but he's very truthful and very kind, and he has what I classified as a medium role. So he'll be in the story quite a bit, but it will only be closer towards the end when he's actually involved. This next dog is called Reaper. He is basically a Saint Bernard kind of looking dog. He's not exactly because a lot of the dogs are mutts. He uses a fire sword, and we do get to see him use it like once. He is generally unyielding and scared of change, but he is kind. For the most part, he acts as a antagonist. He does not help out the wolves at all, but eventually he kind of yields and he comes kind of around to their way of thinking. Um, Reaper will probably need a deeper voice because he is the dog king and um, he is Lucy's father, but he he definitely needs to sound very commanding and authorized, if that's a word. That's my new word, because he is the king of dogs, so he needs to be able to sound powerful. And Reaper has a very major role. He is seen a lot in the story. This next dog is Xena. She isn't seen very much at all. She's some kind of mutt. She's black and has black eyes, and um, she's actually kind of the ruler of this kind of underground system. It's not really illegal, but she uses a spy system to find out information and to make sure that basically all the people under her live in comfort. She's cool and very streetwise, and she's kind and she doesn't trust easily. So she probably needs a tough sounding female voice. Um, I don't really care about accents or ethnicity, but she definitely needs to sound really, really tough. She isn't seen very much, but she is a little important to the storyline, and she helps us understand some of the backstories of some of the characters, even just a little bit. The final dog for this voice audition is named Liam. He doesn't have a weapon, and he is very wise and kind. He has a small role because he's only seen at the very beginning to introduce the movie, and then at the very end to wrap everything up. He is obviously an ancient. There are several characters that are ancients, and the ancients are basically like the ruling class. So, he is the last of the ancients. His mother is Lucy, and his father is Stig. But since he's mostly dog, he doesn't have the same power as his father, and he is basically just a mutt because he's mostly dog and part wolf. But his eyes are green, and then like Stig, his overcoat is white and his undercoat is gray. Um, he is a pretty important character to the storyline, and he helps with some of the dramatic aspects. So I really need to get him a voicing part because he is very important and helps us understand everything. So that's all of the characters for this voice audition. Um, Lucy is probably already taken. I mean, she still has to try out, but I'm pretty sure her voice will work great for her. But all of the other characters are open, and as I said, you can try out for small roles, and I'll probably give you multiple roles, either one really big one and a small one, or several really small ones. So you'll probably end up voicing characters. I mean, all of them are needed, so just have fun auditioning, I guess. And there's one more audition. After this is the kind of catch-all character video, because one was for wolves and one was for dogs, because there were quite a lot of characters for both of those. The last one has got all of the other extra characters that are mentioned by name, as well as two characters that are actually pretty important to the storyline, so I need to get them voices. And listen closely to how I say their names, because I'm not saying anyone's stupid or anything, but I had to take like 6 times to figure out how I wanted the names to actually be said because they're kind of difficult looking and sounding, and you'll probably recognize which ones I'm talking about as soon as I show them. But you can leave a comment below telling me which character you would like to try out for, and then later you can post a video on your YouTube channel that has the character you're trying out for. Actually, I posted the other casting call just a couple hours before this, and I already have someone auditioning, so please audition and have fun, and I hope you stay tuned for the next one.